You are listening to Meet the Thriller Author, the podcast where I interview writers of mystery, thriller, and suspense. I'm your host, Alan Peterson, a writer and lifelong fan of the genre. This is episode 231, and it's the final episode of 2025. Today's guest is Daniel Hurst, an Amazon #1 best-selling author of fast-paced psychological thrillers. His novels include Till Death Do Us Part, The Passenger, and The Doctor's Wife, which hit #1 on the Amazon UK Kindle store. Daniel became a full-time author in 2021 and is known for writing fast, releasing often, and staying deeply connected with his readers. We're talking today about the trade paperback release of The Doctor's Wife, his rapid release mindset, and what it really takes to build momentum in psychological thrillers. But before we get to the interview, I wanted to share something I genuinely use and recommend. Between December 28th and January 8th, Masterclass subscriptions are officially 50% off. Masterclass is an online education platform with video courses taught by world-class experts, and they have an incredible lineup of best-selling thriller authors, including James Patterson, David Baldacci, Walter Mosley, and Dan Brown. James Patterson's course in particular had a huge impact on my own writing. His outlining strategy helped shape how I structure my thrillers, and it's a method I still use to this day. So I'm happy to recommend Masterclass, especially with a 50% discount. And if you decide to check it out and order through my link, it will help support this podcast, which I truly do appreciate. You can find all the details at thrillingreads.com/masterclass. All right, let's jump into the interview. Here's my conversation with Daniel Hurst. Hey, everybody, this is Alan with Meet the Thriller Author. And on the podcast today, I have Daniel Hurst, who is an Amazon #1 bestselling author of fast-paced psychological thrillers. And his latest novel, well, it's not really the latest novel. We'll get to that later. But it's The Doctor's Wife is now a trade paperback all over the world, finding new audiences. So excited to talk to Daniel about that. Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Before we get into the details of the new book, can you tell us a little bit? I mean, you're known for writing your fast-paced, binge-worthy psychological thrillers. Can you take us back to the beginning? What first drove you to write and publish your very first novel?
Yeah, of course. So ever since I was a child, it was what I would do. After school was a hobby. I would, if I saw something on TV that would inspire me, I'd then write my own version of that story and then give it to my mum and dad. So I don't know if they call them soap operas in the US, so they call them over in the UK. So I would write one-page episodes and give them each day to my mum and dad, as if it was a TV series that I was making up in my head. And I always wanted to be a writer. I used to read books all the time as a kid. I was a big fan of the Goosebumps series, R.L. Stein. And yeah, I just assumed I'd just be a writer. And then when you grow up, you realise actually it's not as simple as that. It's quite an unrealistic thing to pursue. But yeah, fortunately, I decided to keep trying. And yeah, when I was in my early 30s and I got married, I decided that was the time to go for it. And yeah, fortunately, it's worked out.
Yeah, I'd say so. And so why psychological thrillers specifically? Is that what you started to write? Is that because were you a fan of the genre before you started to write those books, or do you try to write other genres first?
No, so I'm very much the stories that interest me most, the things that could happen in real life. So I'm not really into sci-fi and dragons and that kind of thing. It is more simple stories, someone on the way to work or just something going on in, a neighbour's house, that kind of thing. That was always what drew me to, all my ideas were based around things that could happen. So I think psychological thrillers was a natural. And then I did kind of lean towards the darker tendencies, so yeah, it was kind of psychological. So that's all I've written in. I think if there was to be another genre, it would be more horror and darker.
Yeah. And which authors influenced you as a writer then? Who were you fans of when you started writing these?
So with psych thrillers, it was, I guess, all the obvious, the commercial ones like Gone Girl, Girl on the Train. But an author who actually inspired me, not because it's the same genre, but because he just made being an author seem so cool, was Ben Mesrick. I'm not sure if you've heard of him.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote so all his books are based on things that have happened, but he writes them in a fictionalized way. So he's written about how Facebook was founded, and then that's what the movie The Social Network is based on. And I'd always read his books when I was on holiday for my 9-to-5 job. And then when I go back to the office, my head would be like, oh, this person's got such a cool job. He's writing, he's getting to pursue his passion and telling these cool stories. And it would just inspire me to think, if he could figure it out, I could find a way to do it myself. Even though it's a different genre, he just inspired me.
And did you start out independently first, or did you go, or did you start out with like Bookature, or how was your first book published?
Yes, I started independent, yeah,
Awesome.
self-publishing,
Hmm.
because I think I was just too impatient. I didn't want to, I've heard from every author, from Stephen King to J.K. Rowling, they all say you get rejected, hundreds of times. And I'd reached a point where I wanted to do it so much, and I'd had enough of my 9 to 5 job. So I thought, rather than write books and then wait 6 months, submit them and then get rejected, let's just try and put them out into the world myself and just try and get one reader, then try and get two readers and just build it. And obviously it's hard work and you don't know if anyone's going to find it and you've got to do all the marketing as well as the writing. But I think it suited me because I'm very impatient and I wanted to just get my stories out.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. It's kind of interesting too, because you always say that, you always hear like at the writing conferences and the writers forums about series and all this, and yours are all standalones, and
Yeah.
found successful with that. Do you start getting a little nervous when you first started out, like, oh, maybe I should be writing a series?
Yeah, all the advice was series, and it was, the whole kind of write book one and then give it away for free, and then that'll get people to book two. But for me, all the success did come from standalones. I could see a huge difference when I was writing those compared to trying to make a series. And series is difficult in psychological thriller because you're kind of throwing everything at the characters in one book.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really work to have that same thing happen 10 times or 20 times again to the same people. It's like it wouldn't happen in the world. You can get a few books out of it, but these big series, it doesn't work for the genre. And it suited me for my ideas. I'd have one idea and then a totally different idea. So standalones definitely appealed to me more to write.
And so you've been full time since 2021, right? Is that got that on your
Yeah,
website? Yeah.
coming up to my 5 year anniversary in January.
Wow, that's awesome. Congrats. Yeah.
Thanks.
What was that shift like then from, not having too much time to write your books to now having a lot of time? Because sometimes you hear people like, they procrastinate even more when they go full time.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have that problem.
Awesome.
Because so like the dream came true and it was like one of the happiest days of my life. And then so I finished on the Friday in the office, and then the Monday morning I was awake at like 7 a.m. Just writing because it was almost like, okay, I've got what I wanted, but this all might go away anytime. So let's just maximize it. Let's work as hard as possible. So yeah, I actually kind of went the opposite direction. And obviously, as you can tell, because I've got so many books out,
Yeah.
I just kind of, it's almost like when I think back on like the first 6 months of 2021, I feel like I didn't see what was in the news. I don't know what was happening in sports. I don't know what was going on because I just like had my head down. I guess it was like an aardvark, nose down, hunting for things. And then I suddenly looked up and I was like, oh, I've got all these books and it's and I've got an audience, but I was just writing so much.
Well, that's great because that's like the most important thing. No matter what strategy anyone's using, right? Is more books is the key to everything, really.
Yeah, and obviously when you enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work. It
Yeah.
doesn't drain you.
Yeah.
It's great, but then you've still got to remember, like, I need a bit of balance. I need to slow down. Hard to do that.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. So, when you were writing these books and stuff, do you like set like, I was kind of curious about your writing process. Did you set like word count goals, or do you set I'm going to work from 7 to 5 p.m., or what was your process like?
Yeah, it was usually a word count goal. And then I would just like going to the gym, you'd kind of like stretch what you could do each time. So I might say to myself, okay, can I do 1,000 words? And then it'd be 2,000. And every time I think, well, that must be my limit. And then I'd be, oh, okay, I'm doing 4,000 today. Wow, okay. Next week, let's try and do 4.5, 5. And I got myself up to doing 10,000 words a day.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so Monday to Friday, very disciplined, 9 to 5 writing. I'd be getting on like 50,000 words written. And then obviously I need to go back and tidy it up and read through it all. But I was very disciplined in the sense of if it got to, 6 o'clock in the evening and I'd done 8,000, but I told myself to do 10, about, okay, I'm going to go and have dinner. I'll see my wife, but then I'm going to go and do that extra hour and get the 2,000 words and nobody's telling me to do that, but that was kind of in my head to do it.
Oh, wow. That's very disciplined. That's very impressive. And what do you use to write? Do you use like a Word or Scrivener or something else?
Just Word, just very simple, very basic. Yeah, just yeah, I don't do any dictation or anything like that. It's just all typing. So obviously my poor keyboard, my poor hands.
Uh, and I'm just kind of curious because then you started writing for the Bookatcher, right? And
Yeah.
other publishers. How is it balancing that then? Because you're so used to just doing your own thing. Now all of a sudden you have editors and publicists making you
Yeah,
talk with people like me.
yeah, it's tricky because I was just in my own bubble for like
Yeah.
a good couple of years. But then you realize like there's only so much you can do yourself, and if I think there's a famous saying like if you want to go somewhere, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with other people. I
Hmm.
think I've just butchered that quote, but
That makes
but the
sense.
idea was, yeah, working with a publisher, I realized, yeah, there's so many more ways I can reach readers, whether it's with audiobooks, translations, just other marketing strategies that I wasn't doing as a self-publisher. So yeah, it took a bit of getting used to, like working with editors, schedules, and not just being able to like have an idea and then start typing it straight away, but sending an email, seeing what they think of it, having a Zoom call, discussing. So yeah, but then I realized, yeah, sometimes you got to slow down and work on an idea,
Mhm.
which is, I guess we'll start talking about the Doctor's Wife soon, but that is an idea that if I'd self-published it, I probably would have jumped into it too fast and missed some of the things that ended up making it successful because my
Mhm.
editor, we spoke it through over a few meetings and we made it so much better than it would have been.
Yeah, what's the process like with working with like a Bookatcher? Like I know like the old legacy ones, it could be like 2 years by the time you're finished writing it, it's published. I know Bookatchers are
Yeah.
that bad, but what's the process like from when you start writing it to it's published? How long did that take? The first time?
Yeah, it's definitely much shorter. It's maybe 4 months, 5 months.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. So at first I was like, oh, that's a bit too slow for me. Even
Yeah,
though I knew it was fast in the publishing world.
yeah, because I can have it out in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, very impatient. I just want things out there.
yeah.
But yeah, I kind of, there's no way I would have been able to do the whole one book a year, like very old traditional ways.
Hmm.
And, the thought of kind of editing the same book for 6 months and just, I've got so many other ideas I want to get to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
That,
obviously the world's like the publishing world has changed. It's very digital now, ebooks, it's Amazon, KU.
mhm.
Readers want multiple books as fast as they can. So yeah, I think I'd worry too much even if I had my fan base, if I said to them, okay, there's nothing now for a year, I think everyone's going to forget about me and move on.
Yeah.
So I keep giving you books.
Yeah, I know that's changed a lot too because I interview a lot of people, and even like once published for the old legacy publishers are now publishing like 2 books a year, which for them is like wow,
Yeah.
they're not being held back anymore. So yeah, so let's talk about the Doctor's Wife because this actually was published a couple of years ago, but now it's everywhere. Like I was at my Target here in San Francisco and I saw it. I'm like, oh, I'm talking
Oh,
to the guy.
great.
I told my wife, I'm going, hey, I'm interviewing Daniel on Monday.
Yeah.
How's
Yeah,
that?
so
That's got to be surreal to see your book everywhere now.
yeah, it is very strange. Yeah, so it came out in, I think it was like the end of January 2023.
Hmm.
And then like amazingly it went to UK number one in the Amazon Kindle store a few weeks after that. But yeah, now so we're about 2 years on, 2.5, and it's had like a new front cover made for the US. It's had a print run. So yeah, I'm getting photos from my American readers like in Texas or California, somebody's seen it. So yeah, it's really exciting to just see how far, and I guess that's what I was talking about before with a publisher. They can
Hmm.
just that reach and the fact that it's 2.5 years old, but it's still finding new readers and new ways. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, 'cause that's what thing as Indies we can't get our books in Target.
No.
So can you tell us a little bit about the story then? Can you tell us what's the story about and how you got the idea for the Doctor's Wife?
Yeah, so I had the idea. I was up in a part of England, like very far north on the border with Scotland. And it was me and my dad, and we'd taken a few days and we'd gone up there to do some like hiking. So like very scenic, very remote. And there was a few houses up in this area and nice houses. And I used to think like who would move here? Who would live in this area miles from anywhere? And then I had this idea for a couple who moved from the city to a house up here. And the idea was that the husband has sold the wife on the idea of let's move to the country and let's escape the city. So she goes with it. But the secret is the husband's actually moved there because he was having an affair and his mistress has moved to this part of the world as well. So he's kind of managed to sneak his wife there just so he can keep seeing this other woman. And then it's like, okay, well, what if the wife was to find out? And then, there's all these games going on. So initially, I didn't even think about it being a doctor. It was just this husband and wife and the secret. And then with my editor, we started speaking about, okay, what does the husband do for a job? What could he do in this remote village? And then we had the idea of the village doctor. And it was fun to have this contrast of the professional doctor who everybody trusts, but then he's got this dark secret, and he'll do anything to, he's very selfish, and he'll do anything to protect his secret. And then you've got this glamorous doctor's wife, and she's married to this wealthy doctor, but then she's got her secrets too. And yeah, you just kind of snowball from there.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I read it when it came out a couple years ago, and I really enjoyed it. Is there a lot of changes in the new paperback in this new version, or?
Just Americanizations and
Oh, okay.
some words, yeah, like sidewalk and
Elevators instead of lifts, stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
That's gonna be interesting too. Like when you're writing your books, is that something that you think about, or you're just writing them like you want to write them? You're not thinking about the American market or the UK market, or
Yeah, so most of my settings are UK just because that's kind
yeah,
of
you
what
such
I'm
a know
known.
it.
Yeah, I've done a few where maybe like UK, like a British character goes to US. But then if it's still from the British point of view, I still kind of keep it with all the UK
Mhm.
wordage. Yeah, it's quite tricky because even if I try and do the Americanizations, I'm just because it's not natural. I'll never get them all, and then an American reader will think, "Well, you tried," and some people don't mind, but then some people think, "Well, you didn't do a good enough job." So it's tricky.
Yeah, I can't even imagine trying to write with just a British versus American spelling. The U, humor,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, I couldn't even imagine trying to tackle that. So.
Yeah, there's so many like phrases as well that we have and you have that are different. Some US readers ask me like, "What did you mean by this?" And it's such a common thing that UK people say, and I'm like, I have to explain it in an email.
Yeah, I've seen that in those Facebook groups too, where people ask, "What does this mean?" And it's like very common in the UK, but for us, it's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's funny when I was at the Vegas Orphan Nation
yeah,
conference. I met the author James Kane. I'm not sure if he's been on here, but he's like a psych thriller author.
yeah, yeah."
And he was asking about like things like beans on toast and these kind of meals that in the UK, we'll have beans on toast for our evening meal. And he was like, "What is that? Like, I don't understand." And it was just a simple thing for us is like trying to explain it, and it's yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and he's from Canada, so even that's a little
yeah,
different. A lot closer than the UK, but even Canadian is a little different than American
yeah,
uh, way of talking. So yeah, yeah. What did you think about that conference? That was a lot of fun. I remember seeing you there. You were at the panel, the thriller
yeah,
panel. Going back like for the writers who listen, 'cause I know that I have writers that listen to this podcast as well. What
yeah.
did you think of I thought Author Nation was great. Did you enjoy it or?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
yeah, such a huge event. Like the scale of it's massive. Yeah, I was on the thriller panel. That was good fun.
Yeah.
Even though it was at 9 a.m. one morning, I was like, I wasn't sure about the timing of that one, but yeah, yeah, enjoyed it. Yeah, possibly go back next year. I mean, I've been to Vegas 6 times now. Not always to the conference, but for different reasons. So can I make it 7? We'll see.
Yeah.
What about you? Are you going again next year?
I haven't made up my mind yet. Probably. Yeah. I've been,
Yeah,
yeah, I went to the first one when I was back at 20 books. So I've been to
yeah,
most of them. I think I missed like 3 or 4.
yeah,
So I'll probably go back. Yeah, it's always fun to see everybody
yeah,
and meet people. And so
yeah,
yeah, that part's kind of cool.
yeah. There's not many chances to get together with all the different authors, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And it's nice too, because it's a mix of, you have traditional people there, you have indies. So it's kind of a nice mix. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. And so I was thinking too now with your books too, like we talked about the doctor's wife, and I've noticed that in your books and psychological thrillers in general that they always feature respectable, trusted figures hiding secrets, like the doctor, like in the doctor's wife. Why do you think as readers we enjoy that so much? And this,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's because we kind of, especially when it comes to a doctor, we put all our trust in a doctor. We go and see them with our symptoms, and then whatever they tell us, we just believe them, and we just think, why would they not tell us the truth? So I think it's quite obviously in the real world, they are telling us the truth and they're doing the best they can. But in fiction, you can have a doctor who's not doing not being honest, and he's got his own motives. And I think it's so shocking when you have that contrast of someone who should be perfect and honest and they're actually not. Um, yeah, it's kind of just playing with the opposite of what it should be. So it
Mhm.
just feels like good fun as a writer.
Yeah, that's a big difference between like the domestic psychological thrillers versus like crime fiction, where it's a lot more about the investigation, where this is more about the characters, right? Like you don't really get
Yeah.
into the forensics and all that stuff.
Yeah, I try not to go too deep into that. Like,
Yeah.
there's a detective in this, and there's always like the police. So, if there's a body, then there's going to be a knock on the door and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. But yeah, I always try and tell it more from the character's point of view. I guess because then, in terms of research, like if I don't have to research as much the investigation, it's more just okay. If the police knocked on my door, how would I feel? What would my reaction be? So I can just write it from a normal person's point of view, not a police officer's point of view.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that makes it. And then for the reader, because I guess most people as well reading it will be from my point of view, where they're not used to the police knocking on the door, they're not used to dead bodies. So it's more of a kind of a normal reaction to these things.
Fun to see like the rich and the successful people, it's kind of like peeking behind their doors.
Yeah, yeah, like the big house and the perfect
Yeah,
family, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. I also noticed that when I did a little research, I went before the interview on your website and on your latest books, and you've been publishing some short stories. That's really cool. Can you tell us a little bit about
yeah.
that? And what's the process of writing a short story versus a novel?
Yeah, so I had a bit of a gap in my schedule, but I felt like there wasn't enough time to do a full, 75,000 word book. So I didn't want to try and rush that through, but I didn't want to have a big gap for my readers, especially it's Christmas. I thought I need to
Mhm.
get a few stories out. So yeah, I had the idea because I've got so many old ideas jotted down on my phone over the years, and I just thought, okay, let's try and turn one into a short story. And then I set myself a challenge of I want it to have like a huge twist at the end. Even the full length books we do, we try and have a twist, but I was like, can I do a 10,000, 15,000 word story with a big punchy twist? So I wrote the first one, and it was just so much fun because when it's a short story, you've not got time to set up backstory, and you're not bouncing around with different characters. You just got to get on with it. So I thought, okay, I've got another couple of ideas. Let's just do 3 weeks in a row of a short story each week, completely different, like standalone stories. But each of them's got a big twist at the end. And it's so fun to write because usually if you're plotting out a full-length book, you might have a great twist at the end, but you think, oh, it's going to be weeks till I get to write that because I've got to spend weeks writing
Yeah.
50, 60,000 words first. Whereas with the short story, I was like, oh my God, I start on a Monday and by the Wednesday, I'm hitting the twist. I'm getting to the fun part. So that was good fun. So yeah, I definitely want to do more. It's just for now, I'm going to go back to my schedule's back on the full length books. But
Yeah.
yeah, short stories are good fun. Recommend them.
Yeah, yeah. I saw those. I'm like, yeah, I haven't read them yet, but I'm going to check them out for sure. And they're doing really well too. So that's that.
Yeah, just of my readers, like, 'cause I was a bit nervous, like, our reader's going to think, oh, he's just getting lazy now. He just doesn't want to do full books.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, but I think as well with the twists, they are more punchy and impacts because the book just ends because it's short. It's like the
Mhm.
twist and then that's it. And it leaves you thinking like, oh my gosh, whereas if it was in a normal book, there would be another chapter and it would just carry on.
Yeah.
And the twist it wouldn't kind of punch you in the guts as much. So yeah, I think the twists are really kind of hitting people hard with these short stories, which is good.
And when you're writing your books, do you outline or do you kind of like make it up as you go along? Or
Yes, I used to make it up. Again, impatient. I used to just dive in. But yeah, as soon as I started working with editors and publishers, they obviously wanted to see an outline before they trusted me to go off and write. So now I actually pretty much all the time, even when I do my own stuff, I'll outline now. Yeah, I can see the benefit in that. It's not
Mhm.
as stressful to try and make it up as you go.
Yeah, yeah, or getting those writing yourself into a corner or something like that.
Yeah, I've definitely had that situation, like 50,000 words into a book, and I'm like, yeah, I've been making it up this far, but now how am I going to end it?
And so, what do you think for your future? Do you see like continuing on with the hybrid, publishing your own stuff and working with publishers? Do you
Yeah,
do
I think I
that?
just want to like explore every opportunity, say yes to anything that comes along. Keep just making sure I'm pushing myself, finding different ways to reach readers, and yeah, kind of open to all opportunities. Yeah, I just feel really fortunate that it's worked. Like any of the ways it has worked would have been great, whether I was just a self-publisher or whether I was just like traditional, but to be able to do bits of both and to have success in each area, and just, find readers is just so exciting.
What are you working on now? When's your next, can you give us a little sneak peek?
Yeah, so I've got a few more books with Booker Show coming out in the new year. So we're working our way through those. They announced that there's a prequel coming out to The Doctor's Wife.
Oh, cool.
So it's called The Doctor, and it's about a bit more backstory on the Doctor, and how he met his wife, and how he kind of became this doctor who, he might have been initially a good doctor, but then he started to kind of not go to the dark side, but he started to have secrets and change his ways. And that's been good fun because it was such a challenge to write a prequel when, things have already happened after it. So you're like, how can I make this one full of twists and turns without contradicting anything that happens? So it was almost like a teacher had given me a creative writing exercise and I had to try and figure it out.
Yeah, that's a cool challenge. Yeah. Yeah. You don't what do you call that? The retcon or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Daniel. And then I always ask my guests too, because like I said, I have aspiring writers that listen to this. Any advice for somebody who wants to start writing thrillers, and any advice that you can offer them?
Yeah, so many different ways to start now and go about it, which is good. So you've got more choice. For me, it was just focusing on what I wanted to write, making sure I was getting my word count down, like control the things that you can control. So you can control your word count per day. You can control where, if you want to self-publish, how many books are you going to do? How are you going to market? You don't have to do everything, but choose something you enjoy, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's Facebook ads, Amazon ads. You don't have to do all of it, but pick your favorite one. Yeah, and just control what you can. You can't control reviews. You can't control necessarily the number of sales, but you can control if you're doing 3,000 words a day writing, and if you're building towards something, that momentum will lead to something. You don't know if it's going to take 6 months or a year or 2 years, but it will go somewhere if you don't quit, if you keep going. Hopefully I'm proof of that. Never give up.
And so where can readers find you online if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, so my website's www.danielhurstbooks.com. And if you just type in Daniel Hurst on Amazon, you'll find all my books. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Daniel Hurst Books. And yeah, if you want to send me an email or a social media message, I'll reply. Yeah, I'm sure you can find me somewhere on the web.
All right, Daniel. Well, thank you so much. It was real fun talking with you.
Yeah, thanks. I enjoyed this.
That wraps up my interview with Daniel Hurst, and also wraps up another year of Meet the Thriller Author. A huge thank you to everyone who listened, subscribed, shared episodes, left reviews, and to those of you who watched the interview videos on my YouTube channel throughout 2025. This podcast celebrated its 10-year anniversary this year, and I truly couldn't do it without this incredible community of readers, writers, and fellow thriller fans. Before I sign off, I want to mention that my latest psychological thriller, The Good Mother, is on sale now and currently on Amazon's hot new release list. If you enjoy dark, twisty domestic thrillers, you can check it out at thrillingreads.com/mother. And don't forget to check out this episode's sponsor, Masterclass, offering 50% off their annual subscription for a limited time. You can learn from best-selling authors like James Patterson, David Baldacci, Walter Mosley, and more by visiting thrillingreads.com/masterclass. Thanks again for listening and watching. I'm Alan Peterson, and I'll see you in 2026 with more authors, more stories, and more thrills.